Yeah, that's us. Another edition of the Autumn Windbags on April. Already into April. Draft month, baby.
We're almost there.
Up here, right?
About 3 weeks away, huh?
There's no such thing as an NFL offseason. There's always something going on.
Always something going on.
So I have to come out right away and Soto tell you that I'm cheating on you. I cheated on you last night.
The fuck?
Yeah, I did. The guilt and the weight of it, I had to tell you. I did a podcast with the wife last night.
About?
She's starting a Sex and the City podcast where she recaps every single episode, and I told her I'd produce it for her. It's her and her friends. So
oh my god!
Line and Sex and the City podcast last night. So I cheated on you with Carrie Bradshaw and Charlotte York and Miranda Hobbs.
If that isn't the most basic thing I've ever heard in my life,
it's a good show. It was a well-written, funny show.
Oh God, RJ,
it was a good show.
Just stop.
You know what? You know what the best part of Sex and the City? Sex and the City was the best show to ever happen to men. You know why? Because it convinced an entire generation of women that it's very chic to be a total slut. Best thing that ever happened to us. So all these chicks just run around Manhattan banging everybody. They go, look, I'm wearing $400 Manolo Blahniks, and I'm like I'm successful, and I want to bang dudes all the time. So girls are like, oh yeah, like
I never had a problem banging sluts, bro. The sluts have been there.
Hey, the brake pedal's on the left, Soto. Relax. Will Chamberlain over here.
No, I never said that. There's a big pendulum swing between what I am and Will Chamberlain, okay? Yeah. Huge gap. I'm not talking about the gap between your butt cheeks.
So with the draft coming up at the end of the month, defense still in flux, new defensive coordinator, 900 different defensive tackles, new defensive end.
Same linebackers.
We got that consistency. Young DBs, maybe getting a year better, maybe not. Still a giant hole at free safety. I have no freaking clue what our defense is going to look like next season, Soto. But I have a pretty good idea of what our offense is going to look like. We should have a pretty good idea. I mean, quarterback set, running backs, Josh Jacobs, Kenyon Drake, right? Receiver, we got a new receiver in John Brown, but basically everyone else is coming back. Tight end all set. Line, despite all the NFL media saying, oh, the Raiders nuked their offensive line. What are they doing? What's going on? It's all returners, basically.
Yeah, they all played. It's just
Colton Miller's signed a huge deal. Richie Incognito's back to left guard. Andre James has been developing for the Raiders for multiple seasons.
He's a known quantity.
Denzel Good will probably be guard, and then they'll probably draft a right tackle. So other than right tackle, like that's the only question mark on the now depth at the O-line, I think is a legit concern.
Yeah.
It's definitely an issue. Especially if Denzel Good is like Mr. Do Everything, you force him to be a starter, like we use our great swing linemen. But our line, it went from the most expensive line in football that was good to an average costing offensive line that's probably going to be a little above average. Like I understand the value move. Long story short, basically all the pieces are in place for what our offense should look like next year. So Soto, how do you think the offense is going to look next year? Because I'm tempted to say it's going to look the same as it did last year, more or less. John Brown will basically, he'll replace Nelson Aguilar. He'll replace Nelson Aguilar. Foster Moreau will get Jason Witten-Staps, which he should have had the whole time. Jacobs will be a good bruiser. And then you throw in a wild card in Kenyon Drake. So on paper, it looks like it should be basically the same offense we had last season. Run first, throw the tight ends. Derek Carr can throw deep when you need to, generally keeping things mid-range. Do you think it'll be basically the same as we had last season?
I don't think it's going to be as similar to last season as you're thinking. Mm-hmm. I think we're going to be a lot more athletic on the offensive line that we were last year. Okay. I think we're going to be able to do a lot more in the screen game, a lot more of the stretch plays, maybe there's more RPO action. And because of Kenyon Drake, he's pretty fucking strong in the screen game, man. So I think with that more athletic offensive line, you're going to see a lot more stuff maybe stretched out. and a lot more screens, stuff like that. Tight end screens. If you have a lot of the guys in the middle of the field, they ran this play a couple of times a couple of years ago where Waller did a post, like a skinny post, and they did like a underneath, almost like a middle bubble screen type thing for Moreau, and he would get huge chunks of yardage. And
because Waller's getting double teamed as he should.
Exactly. He's pulling all the linebackers deep, and he's pulling all the safety deep. So Moreau makes one guy miss, or one guy blows an assignment, and Moreau's got all this yardage to just do what he wants. So I see the offense being a little bit more athletic, hopefully being a little less predictable, especially within the 20s.
Yeah, I like what you mentioned about the I didn't even think of it in these terms, but the line being a little quicker, little younger. I mean, obviously Incognito old, Colton Miller only 1 year older, but Andre Dames, maybe a rookie at right tackle. Because you think of like on paper, the last couple of seasons, the Raiders or the Niners had two of the best lines in football, but completely different. The Raiders line was just huge, just honking
massive
monsters that wanted to just like bulldoze forward and give Josh Jacobs 5 yards every carry, right? Like that's what they're doing. It's just people movers. The Niners line is super small, but agile. They want to get to the edge. They want to do, like you're talking about, little screens to the outside, guards pulling, guys moving around. They wanted fast moving linemen. And so it looks like this new line is kind of somewhere in between. Like we weren't the power running game last season that so many people thought we were. We weren't. Like Josh Jacobs got less than 4 yards per carry. And, half the line was hurt half the season. So we just weren't that bruising, 3 yards in a cloud of dust capability that a lot of people thought we had. So I feel like we're kind of more, our identity is a little bit more flexible. Like we can do we can still pound the rock when we want to. Like specifically with Jacobs, and, keep forgetting our awesome fullback too, that can lead the way as well. But we can be a little bit more creative, like you mentioned, and specifically with Kenyon Drake now on board, a guy that like they're, talking about him being like a joker position or, lining up wide, even though he's a running back. We might start seeing a little less like pound the rock or deep offense, and a little bit more creative in moving guys around, specifically like in the box.
Yeah, hopefully we see a lot more variation in not only in our play calling, but our formations as well, because we can the guys on the offense are going to be a little bit more fluid in their positions. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Coach Gruden has dialed up. It shouldn't be, when you have an offensive line that was good but was very good at what they're doing, staying static, not really pulling and moving and stretch plays and stuff like that, you're somewhat limited in what you can do offensively as far as the run game goes. Mm-hmm. But if you're a little bit more, like you said, the Niners line is a great example. If one of the things that Carr does really well is get the ball out quickly.
Yeah. So
you don't need that Fort Knox in the front to be able to hold for a 7-step drop every play. You don't need that.
But I kind of like her to have a Fort Knox in the back. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure. Dump truck. But you have it in front of you. It's what the Niners do also is they move the line. They move the line, they shift the line, and they do those rollouts and stuff like that. So hopefully it'll help out. I think that we're starting to build something similar to what the Niners are doing now, as far as being very fast and athletic on the outsides, and also having more than one threat out of the backfield. So it's similar to what, like you said, the Niners are doing, similar to what the Saints have been able to do the last few years. So, I mean, it's out there. The blueprint is out there. So hopefully we're a little bit less predictable than we have been.
So John Gruden's been throwing a couple wild cards the last couple seasons, because he's supposed to have Antonio Brown 2 seasons ago.
Jesus,
Terrell Williams this last season. That didn't happen. So, fingers crossed, right? It's still like obvious, I don't want to put it out there for bad juju, but like fingers crossed, basically the bulk of our offense gets through all of training camp, gets to play most of football together. This is his first chance really to like what he starts thinking about his offense being in April, it actually being able to be in November, December, January. Because like in 2018, like his whole offense was built around Antonio Brown. He got that receiver and so he's like, all right, we're just going to be like a 2 tight end set and make Darren Waller a star, and do, like play action, what have you. Now it's like he was forced to use like just a sliver of his playbook. Hopefully now his whole playbook is open because, I mean, for like a diverse skill set of a football team, like we've got it all. We got Carr can make every throw. Other than not having a mobile quarterback, we've got basically everything, right? Like he can make every throw. Jacobs can pound it. Jacobs can go wide. Kenyon Drake can do everything.
Yeah.
If Ruggs comes along, we'll have one of the fastest players in football going deep. If Bryan Edwards comes along, we'll have a big physical X. John Brown, Hunter Renfrow and like Willie Snead can be our like slot, like control receivers. You'll see what John Brown gives us. Obviously, Darren Waller is one of the best in the business. Foster Moreau is above average tight end, even though he's a backup.
He'll start with
most football.
40% of the football teams out there, he would start.
He'd be a starter. So it's like all the options are there. So now you can start playing off of like you mentioned earlier, get Darren Waller going deep as a decoy to get Foster Moreau open. Fake to Josh Jacobs, swing to Kenyon Drake. Henry Ruggs taking the top off, Bryan Edwards on a slant, something like that. Like this is I finally feel like what we're thinking right now, months and months before 5 months before the regular season, could actually be the offense we get on Sundays.
Yeah. I don't see anyone forcing themselves out of a trade on social media.
Yeah.
Or
they would have already done it by now.
Yeah. It would have already been started. You
don't think Henry Ruggs is going to freeze the bottom of his feet off during training camp?
God damn, that looked nasty. Do you remember what that looked like? Gross. That was fucking disgusting.
Get that man a pedicure.
Jesus. Actually, I saw Ruggs, Zay Jones, Foster Moreau, John Brown. We're all working out with Derek Carr. Yep. So, man, Foster Moreau, man, that kid. We've been talking about this guy for a long time, since the very first episode of the Autumn Windbags, and I really do feel like this guy is going to take over more of a tight end role, whereas Waller is going to be more that hybrid, where you see Kenyon Drake being that hybrid receiver running back, where you're going to see Waller be more of that tight end receiver hybrid. And it's going to be nasty, man. The way things look now, it looks like there's a lot of tools out there, a lot of weapons. Yeah. And if you have a lot of weapons, a lot of goodies, Coach Gruden is the type of guy that's going to be able to, use those.
The big question mark for me is like, what's going to come of our wide receiver room? Because there's a lot of bodies, a lot of guys with potential. Obviously, Brown and Snead and Renfrow have already proven them. Like we know what they are. They've proven what their capabilities are. Mm-hmm. Who do you think is going to be our number one receiver? Not counting Darren Waller, actual wide receiver. Like who's going to have the most yards, most touchdowns, most catches? It's really hard to gauge that, right? Like no one could have predicted it would have been Nelson Aguilar last season. Well, supposed to be Antonio Brown the season before that, and we're at that big of a question mark now going into next season.
It could be. It's probably not going to be Renfrow, and it's probably not going to be Snead.
Okay. Process of elimination.
Or Zay Jones. It's probably not going to be those three. So your three are in order of probability: John Brown, Henry Ruggs, and Bryan Edwards. And I think the space between Ruggs and Edwards is a lot closer than people think, as far as likelihood. And this is also the caveat here, of course, if everyone stays healthy, right?
Yeah.
But the main thing you want to take a look at is what Gruden likes, what Gruden looks for. He looks for veterans. He looks for people that he can trust. He looks for what he's seen on tape already. Okay. Mm-hmm. So that leans towards John Brown getting a lot of opportunity. Derek Carr is, pretty keen on getting his primary receiver the ball and not going through a lot of progression. So if plays are dialed up where John Brown's going to be the main receiver, I mean, you would assume that he would get a lot of the balls thrown his way. It all really depends on, if Ruggs can be that guy that we saw the first half of the Panthers game last year.
Yeah.
He can get a lot of look, man. He can get a lot of run. And if those couple of flashes that we saw from Bryan Edwards, if he's just the guy that's going out there and taking things and making things happen, how can you deny him? Those are the three, and I think in that order.
Yeah, I think it comes down to a couple factors. Does John Gruden and Derek Carr, for that matter, look at John Brown as their new Nelson Aguilar, right? Like, are they viewing him that way? Like, okay, he's going to be what Nelson Aguilar was for us last season, the primary number one receiver who's getting like crazy yards per catch, right? If they signed him viewing him that way, I'm leaning John Brown just because precedence is already set. Mm-hmm. And he's basically the only like real wild card there. Like, it won't be Willie Snead, like the new face Willie Snead. He's good for depth. He'll be in the slot possession guy. But the only new face is John Brown. If Henry Ruggs' knee injury last season was as bad as we thought, right? If Carl Cochran brought it up perfectly on the show, he's like, yeah, like before he tweaked his knee in that first game in Carolina, like he was cutting. He was great. Like he was. Then after that, he was just north and south. Like, he wasn't able to fight guys for possession. Wasn't able to do good cuts. Like when he would like do some juke routes and stuff, like against the Jets when he got that guy. Like, he wasn't planning hard to sell that post. It was more like an upper body head swivel, like and then take off. Right? He wasn't planning hard. So if Ruggs' knee is at full strength and it was as bad as we thought it was last season without him really letting it on, then it could be a big breakout season for Henry Ruggs. Bryan Edwards, I think he's kind of caught in the middle of those two, because if they think John Brown's the guy, like John Brown would probably be the X. Because remember, Edwards was the starter before Nelson Aguilar took his job as a starter as the X. So,
well, the thing is they never called plays for him. He never got the ball. He was basically a blocker. He went out there and he was blocking most of the time. So, and especially in that Gruden offense, when you take a look at these variables, and the Gruden offense is really built around your main target, I'm going to scheme this guy open, and it works. It's a good system, but the plays are called for the guy he wants to get the ball to. Yeah. And Carr has been known to, because maybe if it's just that's how he is, or that's how the offense is called or schemed up, he said he tends to zone in on his primary target a little bit more often. So, I mean, I don't put a lot of that on Bryan Edwards because, I mean, I saw him pancake some guys. So it wasn't for lack of effort in the running game, because if you're playing wide receiver for Gruden, you got to be able to block.
Bryan Edwards is as much tight end as Darren Waller is receiver.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean? Like, they're basically, they're almost the exact same position. Like, they're kind of a merging of the two spots. And of course, you got to love a team like a young rookie who's such a good teammate, like a wide receiver who's down to like, yeah, I'll whatever you need, coach. I'll block downfield.
I'll block.
I'm not going to bitch and moan about getting touches. I'm not going to scream to get open every play. Oh, you want me to just basically be a guard lined up in the X? You got it. That's what you need. Done. You got it. I'm there.
He did a good job of it too.
So the two things I want to see more next season are slants and play action. Play action to slants would be nice too. Like you saw, like Henry Ruggs ran a great slant in Alabama. So maybe the reason they didn't do that many slants is because he had that knee injury and you got to make a pretty good cut to run a good slant. Derek Carr throws a great slant. I think that would be big. And also the play action. Like, we had so little play action. Like, when Josh Jacobs is coming in as an all-pro running back, right? He's a Pro Bowler, and he's like the one first-round pick that we got right in the last long time, right? Him and Colton Miller. You think that there's gonna be a lot of keying in on him, right? Let's do some play action over that, especially when we got the best play action targets are tight ends. Waller, Moreau. You can do a play action like quick throw for slants or tight ends. You can do kind of a lazy play action that just gives the free safety just like half a second delay to give our speedsters, John Brown and Ruggs, a chance to go deep. Like, it just seems like an open. I don't know what I'm missing, Soto, that play action was such a small part of our offense last season?
So you have to take a look at the predictability of John Gruden's play calling. Mm-hmm. So to his credit, as predictable as, I mean, how many of our guests have said he's been predictable? Almost all of them. Whenever we bring up John Gruden, that's one of the things that they bring up is play calling is predictable. But he still has a top 10 offense. Mm-hmm. Okay, so his shit works, but it's predictable. So the play action is really not going to work if you know he's going to run. Certain situations in the formations, if you know he's going to, if you know he's going to pass, it's going to be a play action. You don't even key on it.
Yeah.
So you have to make it believable.
It would be awesome if John Gruden was so self-aware that he stopped doing play actions because he knows he's predictable. Like, does that sound John Gruden to you? Where he's like, all right, here's an actual fault of mine, so I'm going to limit my play calling ability because I know defensive coordinators know what I'm going to call.
Yeah, or just you switch the formations up a little bit, do different things out of the same formations. But it's, I mean, yeah, his offense works though, man. His offense works. You got, as predictable as people say he is, he still had a top 10 offense.
True or false? Derek Carr will statistically have a better season next season than this season. He threw for 4,100 yards, 27 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, passer rating of 101.4, completion percentage of 67. Better or worse?
I'm going to say slightly worse because of the running back duo that we have. I think we might be able to run the ball more.
Okay.
Because of that.
So you think it'll just be less volume, not play worse, but a little less volume.
A little less volume. I don't think it's going to be
completion percentage probably a little higher then.
Yeah, but probably not as many yards. It's tough to say because some of the reasons why he's going to get less yards is probably why he's going to get more touchdowns. The play action will work. When he does go deep, it should be open because people are keying in more on the running game, but he might not throw the ball as much because he has two really solid running backs. But I'm going to say statistically, not as good, but I think game manage and result wise better.
Okay. So that's the offense. We can, who knows with, who's going to be able to play throughout the season and exactly what the scheme's going to be. But it's one of the easier offenses, I think, to kind of gauge what we think we're going to get next season. Mm-hmm. The defense, on the other hand, God only knows what's going to look like.
Yeah, who knows?
It could literally be the worst defense in football again, or it could be approaching semi-average.
Respectable.
I wouldn't go that far, but I would say approaching semi. If it's respectable, I'm doing backflips in my living room every single game. If we're like an average defense, that would be nuts. I mean, that would be amazing.
If we were like 14, 15 in the league, woof.
That would be crazy. So that could be like, and that's, I think, coming down to two things. One is our pass rush. It went from non-existent last season to, if it's semi-existent this next season, that's going a big way. But the biggest question mark for me is obviously free safety. I was down to like, all right, I never want to overspend. I never want to spend a lot on anybody, but like for a veteran quality free roaming safety, it should have been worth whatever they were asking. Like
for us,
for us. Yeah, exactly. For us specifically, get rid of a receiver if we have to, get rid of one of the 7 defensive tackles that we signed if we have to, for a quality free safety. In March-ish, we had our whole list of free safeties we wanted. Like, we're going to get one of these guys in our top 10. Guys got signed, franchise tag.
Franchise.
Nothing. What are we going to do at free safety, Soto?
That's the big question. All signs are pointing to drafting a guy within the first couple rounds and signing a veteran guy for leadership. So I think they're gonna go both ways, like my buddy RJ.
Like you.
Oh, I got it first. I think they're going to sign. There's a couple of possibilities. that have been tied. Clinton Dix actually visited the Raiders earlier this offseason.
Yep.
And from all accounts, he was given an offer that he's been kind of sitting on to see what what else is out there. And also there's Kenny Vaccaro was out there, longtime Saint, played for the Titans last year. Either one of those would be an upgrade to what we've had. Are they the answer? I don't think so. I think they're a decent stopgap for us to be able to develop someone. And I think that's probably what we're going to do. We're going to get, knowing that we need to have more of a long-term focus, and there's nothing out there that's earth-shattering right now. We're going to pick up one of these guys that's a pro, can definitely a starter in the league, whether it be Clinton Dix or Vaccaro or who else, whoever someone gets cut or whatever, a late cut. We can get a guy that come in, not let the house burn down, right? And also draft one of these young kids to be able to come up and push those guys for starting time, and at the worst case scenario, come in passing situations and learning.
Yeah, I hate the idea of like using a first or second round pick on a free safety, only because the rest of our DBs are so young. Like we really need like a veteran free safety. I'm still hoping like Clinton Dix or Vaccaro, like I mean semi decent stopgap, like kind of just better than Jeff Heath, right? Like it's somebody, right? It's a warm body, a carbon based life form in a free safety jersey, right? Like that's something that we need. But when you've got like Damon Arnett, first rounder, second year player, Jonathan Abram, first rounder, third year player, but basically a second year player because he missed his whole rookie season being injured.
Trayvon
Mullen, right? Again, third year player. Like, how about a veteran back there? How about someone on a second contract who's seen this before? Like, and they were out there.
Yeah, man. I don't know.
Adding another rookie in another starting rookie DB, like that's just a recipe for problems.
I mean, that's what he did the first time around in Seattle. He just got a bunch of guys that were all the same age.
Yeah,
he got a bunch of guys back there, and he said he got a couple of studs and turned that team around, turned that defense around.
Maybe that's what he's doing. Like that.
Maybe that's what he wants. Maybe he's like, you know what? I've done it before. Here's how I did it. I had a guy that, if all else fails, is going to go back there and he's not going to, shit the bed. Okay, so that's Clinton Dix and Vaccaro and whoever else is out there, and I have these young guys that I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I teach them the right way and put them in a position to succeed. Okay, then we go from there. I don't like that way of thinking because it seems like a lot of people have been saying that we're punting on this year. But I mean, if we get Morig or one of these other kids, and it could turn out to be a freaking stud. You're telling me that Gus Bradley doesn't know what to do with the stud safety? He knows exactly what to do with the stud safety.
Yeah. It's like an immovable object meets an unstoppable force. It's like, all right, what's going to win? Gus Bradley having a ton of success with young DBs, or the Raiders' total ineptitude in drafting good defensive players? Like one of those things are going to have to give, right? Either Gus Bradley gets someone good and delivers, or the Raiders draft spend another first round pick on a DB that doesn't deliver for him. And that's not totally fair. Like I haven't completely given up on like Damon Arnett and, Amik Robertson. Like I haven't given up on these young guys yet, but Jonathan Abram, Jonathan Abram has one more season to prove.
Yeah.
He has this season to say he's not alive.
I said it last year. I said it last week. If he is anywhere near as bad in pass coverage as he was this year, or as it was last year, this year coming up, gone. I wouldn't even resign him to a cheap contract. It's like, why have him on your team?
So some other news around the league. The big news, obviously, in football was Sam Darnold got traded to the Panthers. The Jets now, they'll likely draft Zach Wilson, something like that. This has reverberating effects on the rest of the NFL, Soto.
Yes, sir. With Flacco signing with Philly, the Jets are left with no quarterback. The two quarterbacks are gone. So they're going to, as most franchises do, when they will have the anointed quarterback of the future. They bring in a veteran quarterback who is capable of starting, who started in the past, and he's still got some snaps in him, and he's able to teach the young quarterback how to be a quarterback in the league. What does that mean for the Raiders? We just happen to have a newly restructured contract of Marcus Mariota, who's a lot more tradable now, and possibly on the market. Who knows?
100% on the market. He should be definitely on the market.
So I think he's a little bit less on the market now with his new contract, but I still think he's available.
Who do the Jets have at free safety?
What's his face? May.
Trade for him?
For Mariota?
For Mariota.
I would do it.
Because I think that's where we're at free safety.
I don't know if the Jets would do it. I don't know if the Jets would do that.
Yeah.
Because they can just pick up another arm, and they just say, fuck it, Zach, you freaking start from the day one. And, I'll just have this guy here in case you pull a Joe Burrow and,
if we could turn Marcus Mariota into an average free safety somewhere, we just have to hope that like a playoff caliber team loses their quarterback like mid-season. They're like, oh shit, what are we gonna do? And say, hey, we'll give you Marcus Mariota. You give us a free safety that has a pulse.
Jesus,
that's how desperate I am, Soto.
I was like, if you were in a bar right now, I'd take you home. Like, listen, man, that's enough. You're gonna end up with something nasty, bro. You better just go home,
RJ.
Right,
you're drunk.
Yeah, it's time. Yeah, it's. I think more than likely this trade will happen. If it does happen, it'll happen right after the draft, right before mini camp, voluntary, not so voluntary as we've been told, OTAs. That's when I think something like that'll happen. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen then. So you can get that, get Mariota in as soon as you can. So now you have your quarterback room set. And where did that leave the Raiders? I mean, stop Nathan Peterman.
I mean, dude, he has been Gruden's project for a couple seasons now. Is Gruden the only coach in the NFL that wants Nathan Peterman on his squad in his QB room?
Nathan Peterman is like that 67 Riviera in the garage. Like, bro, you haven't touched that thing in fucking years. It's time to let it go. If you either fix it now, make it less of a project and more of a finishing product, or get it out of here. And I mean, I don't know what he sees in him. Maybe Peterman's got a sex tape on Gruden or something, where he's got something on him. I have no clue why he's keeping him around.
I'd be down for the Raiders to use like a 5th or 6th round pick on a quarterback. We got
2/3, man. Look, the reason why teams that draft quarterbacks, maybe not in the first round when you already have an established quarterback, but they spend some decent capital on some of these guys, and they're able to flip those guys. And
we have 8 draft picks.
Dude, we have 2/3 back-to-back third-round picks, number 79 and number 80. If someone is a quarterback drop for whatever reason who has some stack on him, let's take a flyer on him. And you know what? Let's see what we can do with Mariota. Send him out. He's a lot more tradable now. I think if everything fell into place the way we needed it to, I think that would be an ask for me. Would be all right. Let's see if we can get Mariota out of here, get something back for him, and probably like a 3rd or a 4th, maybe a 4th, and spend one of those 2 back-to-back thirds on a quarterback that's available. And not a project, like a guy who can fucking play. All right, none of these. Yeah, he played in Southwestern, Puerto Rico State. Like, no, I don't want that shit. Need someone who's played in big games.
Everyone knows Southwestern Puerto Rico State's a baseball college. All right, Soto, we all know that.
And High Life, my bad.
I mean, look, like when you get that far down, you get to like 5th round or something, you're taking flyers anyway. You know what I mean? Like you're gambling on like potential high ceiling dudes. You're like, all right, this guy, he could be a total boomer bust, but that's what you're gambling, right?
It's what you want anyway.
Yeah.
And late in the round, it's depth. So either this guy's going to not make my roster, or he's going to push for a starting job.
And if I'm like a fifth round projected quarterback, I'd be pretty stoked if I'm playing
under that offense.
This up right, like if I'm going to be a rookie quarterback in an offense for John Gruden behind Derek Carr, the ultimate team player. They trade Marcus Mariota. I get to throw to Waller and hand off to Jacobs and throw to Brown and Ruggs. Like I'd be excited living in a 21, 22-year-old living in Vegas with his first $1 million check. Huh?
Dealing with Gruden though. Gruden's rough on quarterbacks, man.
Yeah. How bad is he on backup quarterbacks though? Is he that? I feel like Carr's going to get all the energy.
I think Carr buddies, bro. Buddies.
They are neighbors.
Yeah.
Speaking of the drafts, I gotta show you this. Pro Football Focus graded the best and worst NFL teams at selecting first-round picks since 2010.
Oh yeah, I know where this is going right away.
So for the last 10 years, Pro Football Focus graded the best and the worst. Surprisingly, want to guess number one? I was kind of shocked until I saw the list. I was like, oh, that makes perfect sense. You know what number one was?
Give me the division they're in.
How about this? They're the most dysfunctional franchise in football right now. Right this second. They are the most dysfunctional football franchise in the NFL.
What, the Jets?
Houston Texans.
Whoa, really? Oh, man, I guess that makes sense.
Deshaun Watson, Andre Hopkins, J.J. Watt, Kareem Jackson, Will Fuller, Jadeveon Clowney.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean, that's a good draft.
I mean, and Watson, like, that wasn't like they traded up to number one to get him. You know what I mean? That was just right. Like, but
everyone wanted Goff.
Bears traded up for Trubisky, right? And then they're like, all right, we'll take Watson.
We'll take Watson. Yeah.
DeAndre Hopkins, we all knew he would be something special, but he's arguably the best receiver in football.
Yeah, you can never. Yeah, this guy's going to be a top 10, whatever, top 15 guy, not number one. But yeah, he's definitely that.
So, props that they haven't been able to hold on to any of them other than
JJ Watt. JJ Watt they had for a lot of years, and he's been injured the last few years, and so I mean I can
face of the franchise.
That. Yeah. So I'm not gonna shit on him for that.
You want to guess where the Raiders landed?
I would say 30, 32.
32. Last.
Yeah. Who's re-signed? Who have they re-signed?
Best picks: Khalil Mack, Amari Cooper, both traded away for draft picks.
Mm-hmm.
Worst picks: Damon Arnett, Jonathan Abram, Colton Miller is on this list. Which,
yeah, that's not right.
I mean, you look at his rookie year and didn't play well, but his second and third year he played very well. Not great, but very well. I don't consider him a bust. Clay Farrell, fourth rounder for a guy who's just like a decent run stopper, or fourth overall for a guy who's a decent run stopper. Kind of rough. And then Henry Ruggs is still kind of wait and see. So like Arnett, Abrams, Ruggs, and Farrell, they all could be in a position to prove their worth. They're all still young enough where their stories haven't been written yet. And then Colton Miller, he's only getting better every season. He's got a huge contract.
Yeah, so like Colton Miller is the only one I don't agree with there. Farrell, he was never that guy though. Mm-hmm. I don't think that anyone ever thought that he was going to be a special player. I think he could be a very good player. He can be, a top player on your defense, but never an elite player. I don't think he ever had that skill set, even in college. He was never that guy. Arnett was probably the fourth best cornerback on his college team.
Yeah,
when he was drafted, there was a couple guys behind him that were better than him. Abram is just he has not played well at all, and it seems to be more of a mindset thing than anything. Because I did take a look at some of his tape in college, and he did do a lot of things a lot better, tracking the ball in the air, breaking down on tackles and stuff like that, than he has in the NFL. You could chalk that up to better play, better competition in the NFL. but he's just not been good. And I just so the Arnett Abrams Farrell thing is pretty warranted, man. Those are bad picks.
Yeah, as of now, we'll see what happens. I mean, I don't know what Farrell's going to have to do a complete 180 to be worth the 4th overall. Like I say it almost every show. You'll never escape your draft spot, position, right? Mm-hmm. Henry Ruggs, first wide receiver taken in that draft. He's going to have to be like, even if he's a really good receiver in a 10-year career, you're always going to be like, oh, Justin Jefferson and all these other guys, like he was drafted before all of them and he wasn't as good. He's a bust, blah, blah, blah. Before we get out of here, I'm looking at our What Up Windbags section, Soto, and you have got a ton going on here. You got a novel down the What Up Windbags.
I got blasted this week, which is, I guess it's warranted. I say what I say because I believe in it and I can back it up as far as why I believe it.
Yeah, sometimes
it doesn't. Sometimes you see this is part of the problem. This is part of the problem here. Is RJ back, and he's every time I say something, you just cut me down and just leave it open for these guys to just absolutely murder me on our comment section. So, what is what I want to do first?
Okay.
Jerry West.
West.
I don't know if it's with a G.
Okay.
He commented.
Jerry West is watching this from heaven. That'd be awesome.
That would be pretty sweet. He said, "I love the podcast show. Quality."
That's the type. Fan. That's the type of analysis that we like here on the Autumn Windbags.
Short and sweet. Probably a little inaccurate. But whatever. I love it. Okay. So the big thing this week was Windbag Nation divided on Derek Carr, which that's just the Raider fan base anyway.
Yeah.
So on Team Soto, Jehu Dawson, he wrote, the catalyst in many of Carr's comebacks wasn't him, it was actually Khalil. Snead and Brown are this year's Witten. I agree with Juan. Carr doesn't get it done in crucial moments. That was his take.
I mean, Khalil, unquestionably, he was a game changer, right? And late.
And there's
no doubt about it. But
there's very few like him in the league.
But I mean, how many games did he completely change at the very end? 2, 3? Like the rest of those comebacks, I think, are on Carr's shoulders.
Yeah. Again, a lot of those comebacks were just back and forth games where we just had the ball last. Mm-hmm. And it's difference between being in a one-score game back and forth, as opposed to actually bringing a team back from a few scores down. Mm-hmm. I mean, you have to have a defense to stop, which is would Khalil Mack on your team would help to do that. Last on Team Soto, Chris Burrell. Juan, your take, you're spot on with your assessment of Carr, is what he said.
With no details?
So, no details. This is the part that kills me.
Just tongue in your butthole.
Kills me. Just
kissing your ass. Okay. Let's go to Team RJ. I feel like this would be more interesting.
Team RJ has a lot more. I took a roasting this week, and you know what? That's fine. I'm not saying that I'm always right. I'm not saying that I'm perfect. I'm saying this is what I feel and why I feel it. No one's saying I'm perfect. This is what I feel. This is why I feel it. And if I'm wrong, okay, I'm wrong. And if I'm proven wrong in the upcoming season, that's still good for me because the Raiders are winning.
Yeah.
So Jeff Garrison, some of his highlights that he wrote, that Derek Carr is the reason that we won 8 games last year. The defense and the offensive line are reasons why we lost 8 games last year. Okay.
That's a guy that's been watching. That's a guy that's been watching the games and not just looking at how much the offensive line is paid and assuming they're the reason we won all the football.
Gruden wants Derek Carr to check down. He picks from 3 plays after reading the defense. That's one of his highlights. Because I'm telling you, I'm giving you highlights, guys, because these guys, check the episode 20 comment section on YouTube. They were novels. I had to take a nap walk around, rub my eyes a little bit because they were novel, and that's great. I don't mind. I'm going to read through them and I'll respond if I have time or if I feel like I want to, and most of the time I do. Let's see here. Atlanta game was because of Chiefs hangover and Morris out coaching Gruden. All right.
Yeah.
I can see that.
I don't know if that fully excuses Derek Carr for how bad he played.
And that's the thing, man.
But that's absolutely true. Like the hangover from the Chiefs.
It's a factor.
Raheem Morris out coaching Gruden. Like that plus Carr crapping the bed is the rest. Like you don't have that bad of a terrible game, that big of a blow against a team that bad on one guy. Like it is.
And again,
everything.
I'm not. I think what I'm saying is being misconstrued as I'm blaming Carr for all of these issues. I am pointing out things that Carr does not do well or where Carr struggles. That's where I'm pointing these things at. Did I say, and I will own that I don't think that Russell Wilson would have let the Atlanta game happen? I wholeheartedly believe that. I don't think that when you have a strong leader at the quarterback position, you have those hangover games or you have those letdown games that last the entire game. They didn't just get outplayed a couple of series and the game got away from us. They got outplayed the entire game.
Yeah, they got
they got bad. So
all I care about is Jeff saying he's expecting you to make a formal apology to Carr and Raider Nation when Carr wins the Super Bowl.
No. He says this: I am going to spam and troll the hell out of you when Carr leads the Raiders to their next Super Bowl victory and Carr wins Super Bowl MVP. And we'll be expecting you to make a formal apology to Carr and Raider Nation. I will tell you this. If indeed that does happen, if Carr leads the Raiders to their next Super Bowl victory and is named Super Bowl MVP, I will write a very nicely worded apology letter to Derek Carr, paid to get it in calligraphy, and I will hand deliver it to Allegiant Stadium.
Done. This is a binding contract verbally.
I'm good with it. If that happens, I'm good with it. But here's the deal. What's going to happen if it doesn't happen? Nothing. Just more excuses or what? Like, oh, well, it wasn't him. It was a hangover. It was Gruden. It was the O-line. It was this. It was like, okay, fine. That's the issue that I have. Nothing is ever going to be Carr's fault. I think I'm more in the middle than a lot of the Carr backers are, because the Carr backers, a lot of them don't see that Carr is doing anything wrong. And I'm more in the middle where, like, yeah, I think he's a very good quarterback. I don't think he's an elite quarterback. I don't think anyone thinks he's an elite quarterback. But, the things that he needs to get better at need to happen, if they want to be one of those teams that are Super Bowl contenders. So last one. Paul, what is it? Grothe?
Grothe. French.
Yeah, Grothe. Highlights. So he said, Juan, you don't know football if you're going to put the red zone struggle on one individual. They had a 19th ranked red zone offense, but 10th ranked offense overall. Okay. My issue with that is, so you're going to give him credit for the 10th ranked offense, but not let him take the blame for the 19th ranked red zone offense. That's that little bit right there.
Sounds airtight to me, Soto.
Is my issue with a lot of the Carr backers out there. They just refuse to let Carr take any of the blame. But whenever something is positive, it's all Carr. That's the issue that I have. Now, I am not saying he is not a very good quarterback. He is a legit starting quarterback in this league who could start for a lot of teams in this league. He has his deficiencies, and I'm just saying, let's just be honest about what they are. That way, that's the first step, right? Is being honest with yourself about the situation. Let's just be honest about the situation.
First step towards healing.
Exactly. So he also pointed out that the Raiders had a 3.8 yards per carry within the 20s and a 2.8 yards per carry in the red zone.
Yeah.
That's part
not Carr's
of it.
Fault. Yeah.
Not Carr's fault. He said, why do you think Aaron Rodgers' numbers are great in the red zone? Do you know his average field position? Football is the ultimate team sport. No sport has more moving pieces that have to work together. A lot has to go right to win on Sunday. Now, I agree with that, but when you have more 30-yard or closer field goals by almost double than anyone else in the league, you're getting plenty of opportunities in the red zone. So I don't think it's the opportunities in the red zone that's the issue. I think it's what's happening in the red zone is the issue. So the same issues that I'm translating the issues that I see outside of the red zone into the red zone. Adam Hill said it himself. He's risk averse, right? He doesn't like taking risks.
Which is a
You
good
don't
thing.
have those. Well, it's a good thing, but in the red zone, you don't have that wide open receiver. Okay, you have to fit balls into tighter spaces. Can that be the receiver issue? Could that be a lack of a number one target? But you have Waller, which you shouldn't have a lack of a number one target.
Mhm.
Who knows? It's a lot of different things, but ultimately Carr is the one with the ball in his hands. He's the one that has the 3 plays every single play he could choose from. So he's the one, if that's correct, he's the one choosing the plays. He's the one that has the ball in his hand. So ultimately the bulk of the blame or responsibility of the red zone woes, I feel, should fall on his shoulders. RJ Clifford, what say you?
I think I'll let my the comment section speak for me, Soto, and just lambaste you and troll you relentlessly and incessantly for your blasphemy. I think that's the right way to go. But until then, knock on wood if you're with me. Hey, Windbags, if you want Darren Waller to catch 20 touchdown passes this season, don't be afraid to click those subscribe, like, share, and comment buttons. Plus, your comment could be featured in the next What Up, Windbags?